So Fallout 76 has seen some fun and interesting updates over the past year or two, with the Pitt expansion bringing us expeditions and introducing the auto axe from Fallout 3's DLC The Pitt, and also the Alien Disintegrator and the Electro Enforcer with the Invaders from Beyond event, which are weapons taken from Fallout 3's Mothership Zeta DLC. It shows that there's hopes that with future content drops we'll see more weapons, armor, etc. being added into Fallout 76. And hey, prime example with the Nuka World on Tour update coming in December, which is currently available to playtest on the 76 PTS, the Zapper. Yeah, remember that little squirt gun from Fallout 4's Nuka World DLC that we had to use on Coulter when we first arrived to Nuka World? Yeah, that thing. That's coming in December. So in today's video, I've put together a top 10 list of weapons from previous Fallout games that I think should be added in, and also ways on how they can be added into the Fallout 76 timeline, because I know there's going to be a ton of people instantly thinking, what about the lore? Well, don't worry, we can keep the lore panties on nice and tight, because I'm going to cover that too with each of these weapons, and like I said, how they can be written into the 76 storyline with future content drops, DLCs and so on. So strap yourself in, remember to click that subscribe button if you like today's video, let me know in the comments as well some weapons you'd love to see added in, and let's check out my top 10 list. So starting off at number 10 we have the Alien Atomizer. Yes, I know, instantly you're thinking, well, we've had the alien weapons already with Invaders from Beyond. And well, yeah, you're right. But this weapon is definitely a must, as I feel that the overall category of pistols in 76 and pistol builds in general need some serious love. Because yes, we already have the Alien Blaster, which I'll add wasn't introduced with Invaders from Beyond. This was a weapon that was in 76 since launch. Yeah, if you didn't know, you could actually find one up in the Toxic Valley in the Toxic Pond across from the Battlefield Cemetery. But I feel that the Alien Atomizer would make an awesome addition to the alien arsenal of weapons we can obtain, as this weapon, like the Alien Blaster, was such a fun pistol to use, and if not as powerful and also if not better in some situations than the Alien Blaster. And now Pineapple, how can it be added into 76? Well, I'm going to cover that with my next weapon, as coming in at number 9 is the Alien Drone Cannon. This is an absolute no-brainer. This weapon was, and also if you still play Fallout 3 from time to time, is a ton of fun to use, and such a powerhouse of a weapon when it comes to damage. This weapon basically works by spitting out balls of energy which bounce off of surfaces for a short period of time until it directly impacts a target and explodes. Both this weapon and the Alien Atomizer were part of the Mothership Zeta DLC, and both of them are weapons that I feel need to be added into the respective categories in 76, such as the pistol category and the heavy weapons category. Now, how do they fit into 76, and how can Bethesda introduce them? Well, here's the fun part. You know how for endgame players who've done Invaders from Beyond like a gazillion times already, have all the plans, and usually if you do a video on Invaders from Beyond or see videos on the event, you see comments like this? Well, here's how. Obviously the Invaders from Beyond storyline introduces aliens, their plans to siphon brainwaves, collect data, invade areas of Appalachia, etc, etc. Well, if we had a follow-up event from Invaders from Beyond, maybe call it Reclaiming from Beyond? I don't know, Bethesda have a team of people that can come up with a name. But have an event that you, the player character, and your friends fight back to rid the aliens from Appalachia, and boom, new rewards, items to claim, and even have the aliens that walk around in those mech suit things carrying the drone cannons, or even a boss carrying the drone cannon. But yeah, a perfect way to add these weapons into the storyline. Coming in at number 8 is the Mantis Gauntlet. This was a weapon from Fallout New Vegas which originated from using the foreleg of a giant mantis and crafting at an armor workbench to create the Mantis Gauntlet. Now hear me out, because I know there's no mantises, manti, whatever the plural of mantis is in Appalachia, so obviously from a lore perspective this can't really be written in, but this is more of an idea for a new weapon that we can introduce into the melee category, originating from the concept of the Mantis Gauntlet, the Deathclaw Gauntlet. And yes, I know there's a ton of melee weapons, and also we just recently received the auto axe from the Pitt update, but melee builds do need a buff. However, you know those creatures we normally see roaming around the mire, also around Quarry 3 and the Toxic Valley? Yeah, the Mirelurks. Well, my idea is to introduce a Mirelurk Gauntlet that we can craft from the pincers or forearms of a Mirelurk or a Mirelurk Queen. The weapon you see on screen is a unique variant of the Mantis Gauntlet known as Embrace of the Mantis King, found in the Honest Hearts DLC. So honestly, I see a concept like this totally plausible in the Appalachian arsenal of weapons, where we can have different variants such as the milder Gauntlet and even a unique variant similar to the Embrace of the Mantis King, but it could be called Hail to the Milder Queen. Again, Bethesda have a team of people that can come up with a name, so yeah. Again, how can it be written in? Well, honestly, each update we get, the year on our Pip-Boy moves forward a year, so it's plausible after several years of being out in the wasteland, we've managed to learn to craft more than pipe pistols, laser weapons, and so forth. We can manage to learn to craft new weapons as time goes on, or introduce it through a new scoreboard, DLC, or even heck, remember that vault that is laid dormant and still has to open down in the ash heap? Yeah, Vault 63? Just saying, maybe a return of the vault raids and introduce it as a new reward. Who knows? Coming in at number 7 is the Ratslayer. This was a weapon from Fallout New Vegas that is a unique variant of the Varmint Rifle. The weapon itself is lighter, boasts a higher damage per second, a much higher critical multiplier, and has all the possible Varmint Rifle modifications, extended magazine, silencer, and night scope with superior magnification. This weapon is perfect to add into the rifleman category because currently we have a very small amount of weapons in this category, and honestly rifleman builds need to make a comeback and need a buff, because not only am I going to be covering the topic of rifleman builds, sniper builds are also a thing we need to seriously see get some love in 76, because right now all we have is the hunting rifle, and no, I'm not counting the fact that you can modify the hunting rifle into a sniper hybrid sort of thing, it's still a hunting rifle. I feel the Ratslayer, as you see here on screen, would be a perfect answer to the Fixer in the Commando category and the attributes that it has, such as the stealth bonus. But we need to get an exact copy of this, the weapon you see here on screen. Its power and so forth, this could become the Fixer of the Rifleman category. This weapon was a ton of fun to use in New Vegas, as it was great for stealth builds, close to medium range engagements, and heck, even with the amount of perk cards, legendary perk cards we have in 76, this weapon could be friggin' insane to use. And how can it be introduced? Well, that brings me on to my next weapon. Coming in at number 6 is the sniper rifle. Yes, an actual sniper rifle, not a modded version of a hunting rifle or anything else, just a sniper rifle. Sniper builds in 76 in my opinion are non-existent and nowhere close to the meta in this game, such as commando fixer builds, and no, I'm not counting legacy explosive crutches such as the Gatling plasma and other legacies as meta because, well, they're just broken and need the absolute shit fixed out of them, but we're not getting into that today. Sniper builds need to be more of a thing in 76, to add more flavour and option to the build options we currently have. The weapon you see here on screen is Christine COS Circle of Steel silencer rifle, which was obtainable through the Old World Blues DLC. This weapon, again because of its silencer modification and also the fact it has the highest damage per shot in the .308 weapons category, is just insane to use from all ranges. Up close, medium to long range, the thing can do it all. It's absolutely perfect to introduce into the rifleman category, and it doesn't even need to be this variant. Just having the sniper rifle itself introduced would be perfect, because again there needs to be more variety in 76 when it comes to rifles like this. So yeah, a definite must have. Now to answer the question, how can this and the Ratslayer be added? Well, see how I mentioned Christine's Circle of Steel? Well, firstly, it's definitely a must in 76 that the Enclave need to have their own DLC introduced, similar to how we got that massive Brotherhood of Steel DLC introduced. Well, if by somehow Bethesda don't have an idea or are in the process of writing an idea, I think the Brotherhood of Steel should obviously make an appearance in there somewhere, because, well, let's face it, if the Brotherhood of Steel and Enclave have been battling it out for so long, it's bound to happen with an Enclave DLC and the Brotherhood of Steel already being in Appalachia. I suggest introducing them as weapons that you, the player character, receives if you decide to fight alongside the Enclave. You'll receive the Ratslayer, or if you fight alongside the Brotherhood of Steel, you'll receive the Circle of Steel, or a unique named variant with a suppressor, built-in stealth bonus effects similar to the Fixer of the sniper rifle seen here on screen. Coming in at number 5 is the Laser RCW. This weapon was another weapon from Fallout New Vegas, which I know technically is categorized as an energy rifle. It's a precursor to the Gatling laser. The gun was designed to mimic a famous gun design and invoke in buyers the same rapid delivery of ordnance, but instead with lasers. The unique feature of this laser assault rifle is the addition of a drum, which gives this weapon its unique look, high rate of fire, and name. The weapon has moderate accuracy due to a high spread for a laser weapon, making it useful for taking down enemies at almost any range. It also has no recoil, allowing for continuous fire without muzzle climb. However, the only downside to this weapon is that it has the second lowest critical chance of any energy weapon in New Vegas. Now, I know I mentioned that this was a laser assault rifle, but honestly, let's face it, if you look at the shape and the size of the gun, it heavily resembles the .45 Auto SMG from the Honest Hearts DLC, or if you're unfamiliar with that weapon, in terms of a real-world comparison or resemblance, it's extremely close to a Tommy gun. I mean, the RCW even comes with a drum barrel. I mean, if there was a mob-styled 40s, 50s faction in the world of Fallout, this would be the gun they'd probably use, as this gun, like I said, is very similar to the Tommy gun, could be categorized into the SMG category if we had this added into 76. And don't get me started with the SMGs in 76, because yeah, they're non-existent. We definitely need more SMGs added into the game, but again, the main question, how can this be introduced? Well, going back to my previous idea, mentioning the introduction of an Enclave DLC into 76, these could be weapons that you could find on maybe Enclave soldiers patrolling an Enclave base introduced with the DLC. They possibly have a cache of these sitting around, or even if you joined the Enclave in the battle against the Brotherhood, you could even purchase them from a vendor within their base. Again, something that the team at Bethesda could incorporate, but again, it's just an idea. Coming in at number 4 is the Infiltrator. First off, I'm completely stumped why this weapon wasn't added in with the Pitt expansion into 76, because this weapon was originally introduced into the Pitt DLC with Fallout 3. I mean, right now in 76, yes, we do have the Fixer, which we can modify to make automatic, and the majority of people do that anyway, but we also have the standard assault rifle, which definitely has seen some visual changes over the years of the Fallout titles, but other than that, all we have is the handmade rifle, and that's about it. So realistically, we only have 3. So honestly, there 100% needs to be more assault rifles added into 76, and the Infiltrator is a must. The Infiltrator is a silenced and scoped, stockless and shorter assault rifle with the integral sound suppressor permitting repeated sneak attacks, while the scope permits enhanced spotting. I think that many a Fallout fan will agree that this weapon would make a perfect contender for the Fixer, as this weapon, like I mentioned, has a built-in sound suppressor, which would be perfect for sneak commando builds, high health, bloodied, you name it. I mean, besides being a ton of fun to use in Fallout 3, it just looks awesome. And another thing, even on the Master and Expert Commando perk cards, you can even see an assault rifle very similar to the Infiltrator on it. However, I know, yes, the lack of a suppressor and the inclusion of a stock on the card makes it look a little bit like the standard assault rifle from Fallout 3, if not an exact match. But I mean, come on, this is definitely a must, and also, how can it be introduced? Well, that's an absolute no-brainer. If there's more expeditions that are coming down the line, which we know will be happening, but if there's more for the Pit, well, there's your golden opportunity to add this in, so please Bethesda, you know what needs to happen. Coming in at number 3 is the shoulder-mounted machine gun. Now, this weapon, I mean, you don't even need to explain why this needs to be added into 76. First off, it looks awesome. You look awesome running around with it, and also the thing is absolutely devastating. The shoulder-mounted machine gun essentially is a shoulder-mounted minigun. It uses 10mm rounds and has a low rate of fire compared to other heavy guns, and also has the highest damage per round of weapons chambered for the 10mm round in Fallout New Vegas. And the fact that it holds 10mm rounds, well heck, you can put this weapon into any category, I don't care, it's just a ton of fun to use. The shoulder-mounted machine gun can fire a total of about 3,995 standard rounds, the equivalent of 67 reloads, or 54 reloads when modified with the extended magazine. Yeah, this thing even comes with a frickin' extended mag, but it can fire that amount of bullets from full condition before breaking. This would honestly be an incredible addition to the heavy gunner, or heck, even if it's the fact that it takes 10mm rounds, add it to the SMG category and call it a heavy SMG, whatever. It would be a perfect addition. And if it's added, it needs to be an exact match in terms of damage output, whereas in New Vegas, it has a base damage of 35.7 and a DPS of 210. If you made this thing legendary in 76, holy shit! You could definitely have a contender for those legacies. And how can it be introduced? Well, I'm probably going to sound like a broken record again, but the Enclave DLC we mentioned, give it to either faction, primarily the Enclave, so you, the player character, have a bigger reason to invest into the Enclave and buy it for bullion, or whatever currency we may or may not have around that time. You can even introduce it with the next series of expeditions. No, not with the Pitt, but with the next location we need to go to for the next expedition, which Bethesda have said is a location we haven't been to yet in the Fallout universe. So there you go, a perfect way to write any of these weapons into the game. Coming in at number 2 is the Anti-Material Rifle. I think any Fallout fan or New Vegas fan will agree with me that the Anti-Material Rifle, and no, I don't mean the one that was introduced with the Fallout 4 Creation Club add-on, because the Anti-Material Rifle I'm talking about is the one from New Vegas. The difference between the Fallout 4 creation and the New Vegas iteration is basically the comparison between night and day. The Fallout 4 creation was nowhere near to the sheer amount of power and force of the New Vegas version, as the New Vegas version was a high caliber precision weapon chambering a 50 cal round, or .50 mg rounds, intended for use against material and hard targets, and when you fired it, it felt exactly like that. Even when you fired a shot and when you fired from the hip, the resulting recoil from the weapon's large caliber would result in you, the player character, being pushed slightly backwards with force. Between the damage sitting at around 110 and the DPS sitting at roughly 49 to 50, if this weapon was added into 76, I would love to see the exact same stats, or more if crafted with a legendary variant added into the game. I can't even begin to express how powerful this weapon was in New Vegas, and if you never used it, well, hop onto Game Pass or check out all the sales currently happening this month with Fallout and go and try it out. I promise you, you won't be disappointed. Again, this would make an awesome addition to help boost the rifleman or sniper builds in 76, and would inject some more variety and options for players. And how can this be introduced? Well, again, future expeditions we end up embarking upon. The weapon itself was used primarily by NCR Ranger veterans in Fallout New Vegas, but it was not exclusive to them particularly. It could even be added with future scoreboards, DLCs, etc., but I feel it would probably best suit as a weapon we retrieve from an expedition. And finally, coming in at number 1 is the weapon that will probably cause a ton of people to drop their lore panties right off and probably rush to the comments and state, because of the lore it can't be added. The one, the only, the Tesla Cannon. Yes, the Tesla Cannon. And before we talk about the weapon, and I don't mean the Tesla Cannon for Fallout New Vegas, or else, yep, the one that you see here on screen, but let's just take a quick little moment to take a look at this little snippet directly from the Fallout wiki that states, the modified Tesla Cannon employed by Lion's Brotherhood of Steel is far more powerful than the pre-war Tesla Cannon, discharging a large electrical impulse upon impact with a much larger area of effect. This explosive damage makes the Lion's model far more suitable for anti-vertibird use. So yeah, that little statement there, pre-war Tesla Cannon. And yes, I know the one on screen is the version from Fallout 3, and also the Tesla Cannon on screen wasn't introduced until the Broken Steel DLC, when Lion's Brotherhood retrieved the Tesla coil to put it into production, but there's two things I'm gonna throw out there. One being the fact that we know that there are pre-war designs and a pre-war Tesla cannon, which we've mentioned already, and second, the Tesla rifle that's currently in Fallout 76. If you look at the timeline, the Tesla rifle wasn't introduced until the events of Fallout 4 with the Automatron DLC, but we see the Tesla rifle in the exact same iteration from Fallout 4 in Fallout 76. So the second statement is basically saying that when it comes to the Tesla rifle, Bethesda made a boo-boo when it came to the lore and forgot, or else they decided, fuck the lore, we're adding it in. We're only really led to believe that the Tesla rifle was introduced with Automatron, but there's no concrete evidence stating that it never existed prior to that. I mean, well, it's in 76, so is it contradicting the lore? Well, yes and no, because going back to what I mentioned earlier about the pre-war Tesla cannon, my idea to introduce this weapon goes back to incorporating it into the Enclave DLC idea. You could have a situation where you, the player character, if you decide to join the Brotherhood of Steel, and while infiltrating the Enclave base, come across plans for the pre-war Tesla cannon that you can acquire and craft yourself back at a weapons workbench. Or if we get an expedition where we need to go back to the capital Wasteland, that could be a weapon we end up being rewarded with, similarly to how the Auto Axe was rewarded, or heck, even buy plans for it with stamps from Giuseppe. Again, as I stated before, Bethesda know how to write this stuff in. But as you can see on screen, this thing is an absolute monster. It quite literally evaporates or explodes your enemies into dust, with having a base damage of 40 and a DPS of 189 and even up to 200 per shot. It's just insane. However, as I mentioned earlier, if we had a pre-war design incorporated into 76, it would obviously have to be a little less powerful than the Fallout 3 version, but still deal out a significant amount of damage even when rolled as a legendary variant. I mean, could you imagine having a bloody Tesla cannon? It would just be crazy. However, with that, that's my top 10 weapons I feel should be added into Fallout 76 with future updates, DLCs and expeditions. As I mentioned at the start of today's video, let me know in the comments below your top 10 list, or even just weapons that you'd like to see added into Fallout 76, and also ways on how they could be incorporated into the storyline. I've had a ton of fun going through these weapons today, and if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to click the subscribe button for more Fallout videos like this in the future, as I regularly post Fallout content over here on the channel. I want to say a massive thank you to all of our channel members over here on YouTube and over on Twitch, as it means the world to me that you enjoy my content and the work that I produce. For our Bethesda fans, if you find yourself shopping on the Bethesda store and want to support the channel, you can use my creator code BTPineapple102 to receive 20% off of your purchases at checkout. I will note that the code on screen does expire October 20th, so if you find yourself watching this video after October 20th, don't worry, I'll leave a link to my Discord in the description below, where I regularly post my creator codes. If you'd also like to support myself and the channel in a more personal way, consider checking out my merch store, which I'll also leave a link to in the description of this video. And lastly, to you, the viewer, the person who stumbled upon this video, thank you for being here. I hope you enjoyed. Until next time, Vault Dwellers, stay safe out there in the wasteland, and I'll catch you all in the next video.